Okay, welcome back to another episode of 3rd and 23. I'm your host, Alex, here to bring you another off-season video as we continue to move towards the college football season. Been a little while. I had to take myself a little pre-summer vacation break, but I'm back, and hopefully I got more off-season videos or put out more off-season videos more regularly as we move towards the season. So this video is going to be about 3 teams set to fade. I'm not necessarily saying I'm taking unders because Vegas is already priced in the fade for some of these teams. But these are teams to sell now, so think about it in terms of when the regular season comes around. These are teams that, if they're favored early on in the season, you might see some opportunities where you can make some money on the underdogs, or just if you're, making predictions on teams that aren't going to fare well or make it to the college football playoff and so on. So 3 teams to sell in 2026. Got Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, and Duke. All these, Ole Miss and Vandy, double-digit winners. Ole Miss obviously went to the college football playoff semifinal. Duke, winners of the ACC, even if you want to call it a farce, is what it is. They are the defending ACC champ. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into see why I have these teams set to fade in 2026. We're going to start it off with Ole Miss. So the big thing with Ole Miss, coaching turnover, right? Got an offensive reset. Lane Kiffin is gone. The offensive staff is gone. They went to go join him at LSU. So a lot is made out of the college football playoff run that they made last year. The reality is they only won 2 games without Lane Kiffin, and one of them was against a G5 school, right? So yeah, they upset Georgia, but that's really all they did. So can Pete Golding get Ole Miss back to the college football playoff? I've seen a lot of preseason top 10 rankings for Ole Miss, probably because they bring back Trinidad Chambliss and they bring back Keywan Lacey, 2 big names to bring back for sure. But you lose your offensive identity in terms of the coaching staff, right? So new OC, John David Baker, he's coming from ECU. He did some work at ECU, but still, this is going to be a continuity chemistry issue. How is he going to do stepping up in weight class coming to the SEC? So that's a big reason why that I mean, you can't make the argument. I don't think you can make the argument that you can say, oh, Ole Miss's offense is going to be better now without Lane Kiffin and the other offensive assistants. I just don't see that. All right, moving on to the schedule for the Rebels. There's another thing. So you got some key games here. So this is a discussion for another video when we get to Florida. But so September 19th is the Lane Kiffin Bowl. They got Lane Kiffin early in the year at home, coming to Oxford. You know it's going to be the most talked about game of the early part of the season. But the big thing for me is they could win that game. They could lose that game, right? The big thing for me is they have to go on the road the next week to a swamp against a decent Florida team. I don't see there's just no way possible that Ole Miss is going to be given an A+ effort the next week against Florida coming off the Lane Kiffin game. I don't see any way possible that Ole Miss wins that game on the road. They also got a road game at Texas in midseason. And then in November, they have Georgia at home and at Oklahoma in back-to-back weeks. So you got some brutal schedule spots here for Ole Miss. Again, I'm not saying Ole Miss is falling off, 3-9. But what I'm saying is college football playoff, some people are putting them back in there just because Trinidad is back, and I'm not going that far. All right, and then moving on to the roster reality of the team. The defense struggled last year tackling. The defense struggled overall last year. They were kind of decent, I guess, in the secondary, but they were one of the worst tackling teams in the country. You guys saw that actually against Miami. That really was highlighted in that game. And then they lost a lot of pieces in the front 7. A lot of guys part of the 2 deep in the front 7 are now gone. So you could say addition by subtraction, but they really didn't add anything that's going to really make you say, oh, wow, they got this guy, they got that guy, to see a big improvement in that front 7. You see some wide receiver turnover also. So how does that affect Trinidad Chambliss? So you got new wide receivers. You got no Lane Kiffin. You got a new offensive coordinator. Are we going to see a regression from Trinidad Chambliss? So all it is for me spells Ole Miss fading from that 11-1 regular season, more back in line to something, 8 wins or something like that. This has already been priced in with Vegas too. Vegas, I believe, that has them as a 7.5 on under win total. So they already know that this regression is coming. All right, moving on to the next team. Sticking in the SEC, we got Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt hadn't been good in a very long time. They had a great year. They really had good last 2 years. Because 2 years ago, when Diego Pavia first showed up at Vandy, they were actually pretty solid, finished with a winning record. And then last year, double-digit wins. But obviously, the big reason is Diego Pavia. You can say what you want about him in terms of how he approached the NFL draft. And, obviously, he didn't approach it in an intelligent way. But that said, he was balling out there for Vanderbilt. He was carrying Vanderbilt with his rushing, with his passing. And now you're going to go to a true freshman quarterback likely, and Jared Curtis is going to be the starter. At the end of the season, there was a big deal made about Vanderbilt. Oh, Vanderbilt stole this 5-star quarterback, Jared Curtis. And people are going to make a lot of, big deal about that in the offseason. You might find Vandy fans, if you could find any, you might find Vandy fans talking up this quarterback. And that's what a lot of college football fans will do in the preseason. The reality is this: if you watch a lot of college football, you know a freshman quarterback's a freshman quarterback. It doesn't matter how good he is. He's going to have a couple moments if he's nice. He's going to have a couple moments during the regular season. Then he's going to have a bunch of moments where he looks like a true freshman. So you're not going to tell me, oh, Vanderbilt's about to be even better now with this 5-star QB. It's not happening. You can forget that. They also lost Eli Stowers, the All-American tight end. So these are two major hits to the offense. Got to say that offense is going to drop. It's going to fade back. And then moving on to the schedule, looking at some key games. So you got a 3-week stretch, no bye week in between these games. You got at Auburn, at Georgia, and home against Ole Miss. Those 3 games in a row. Those are easy. I certainly believe that Vanderbilt is going to be the underdog in all 3 of those games. And then in November, to end the season, Alabama at home, at Florida, and then host Tennessee. Another 3-game stretch, no bye week in between. I'm hard pressed to see Vanderbilt win any of these games on the screen. So at a bare minimum, I can only see them going 6-6, likely worse than that with a freshman quarterback this season. And then finally into the obvious team. I mean, this isn't, I'm not going out on a limb here talking about the Duke Blue Devils, right? But I mean, you're looking for teams to regress. This is an obvious candidate. The defending ACC champs. They lose Darian Mensah to Miami. They also lost their top 2 wide receivers, including their top wide receiver, who also transferred to Miami. So the offensive identity is completely changed. They lost Darian Mensah kind of late in the portal cycle, so they go out and get Eget, the quarterback for San Jose State. So you got to say that's a pretty big drop off. You lose your wide receivers. The offense is gutted. You got your running back. Basically, that's what you're going to have to rely on is your running game this year. So complete offensive identity change in Duke, and not for the better, right? And then if you take a look at defensively, some of the losses they had. So a lot of people, if you don't watch Duke football, if you don't watch a ton of college football, if you're only really watching name brand programs, you don't realize that Duke had one of the better pass rush tandems over the last 2 years on the edge. Both of those guys have moved on to the league. Vincent Anthony and Wesley Williams, they both have moved on to the league. Tough losses there. They got some tough losses at linebacker. So this front seven is going to look completely different. And Duke didn't have a good defense last year. It was really just those 2 edge rushers. The secondary was a huge disappointment. Very inconsistent. And they lost some of their top players back there. So the defense wasn't good last year. And to me, I'm looking at it, it looks like it's going to take a step back. So you can look at an offense going to take a step back. A defense is going to take a step back. Duke is going to take a step back, right? So that's how I see things playing out for the Duke Blue Devils. So these 3 teams, Ole Miss, Vandy, Duke, all 3 teams, I think are going to regress pretty heavily this season. Some more than others. Duke probably might not even make a bowl game. Ole Miss, maybe 8-win football team. But none of these teams will I expect to be any factor in the college football playoff run come November. So anyway, that wraps it up. If you like the content, please like, comment, subscribe, all of that, and you're going to see more off-season videos as we move towards the college football season. Take care.
Why always me? Ooh, like I'm Balotelli. Ooh, why always me? Ooh, like I'm Balotelli. Telly, yeah.